Yeah, cut them SNAP benefits. I ain't paying for nobody to eat. I don't want nobody getting no benefits. They all sit around, and we all know that's all them black people who get them SNAP benefits. Bitch, you're on SNAP. I mean, you're literally on SNAP. I see you. All right, well, I guess you have to cut your own benefits.
Hi, I'm Sue from Wheeling, West Virginia, and I have a message for everybody that's complaining about your EBT and SNAP benefits. Get a damn job.
A MAGA mom is begging her family for grocery money. Her SNAP benefits got cut. She can't afford formula. Her kids are hungry. The response from her mother-in-law, "You voted for this." And she's right. This woman cheered for politicians who promised to slash welfare and cut food stamps. She thought those cuts would only hurt other people, not her. But policy doesn't check your voter registration. When benefits get cut, they get cut for everyone. You can't vote for cruelty and expect mercy when it's your turn. Welcome back to Mind Mirror. Let's get into it.
A post is going viral after a MAGA mom who's on SNAP benefits called out her family for not lending her money for groceries. In this Facebook post, this mom said that her husband is on the GI Bill and she has 2 kids. She continues by saying she's at her wit's end and she's overwhelmed and doesn't know what to do. She said that she asked her husband's mom, and the mom responded with, "You voted for this." Now, of course, I had to read through the comment section on this post, and the comments varied. In reading the comment section of the post, it looked like people were split. Some who have great relationships with their family in light of different political stances said they would help, while others said they've had complete falling outs with those family members and they would not help. What are your thoughts? If you were in this same situation, would you help this family member and use it as a teaching moment about the impact of politics on people's lives? Or would you say, FAFO, too bad, so sad?
Here's what gets me about this situation. She's genuinely shocked, like confused why her mother-in-law won't hand over cash for groceries. But that response, "You voted for this," isn't cruel. It's just factual. This woman voted for candidates who ran on cutting entitlements. They said it out loud, repeatedly. "We're going to slash government spending on welfare programs." And she cheered, because in her mind, that meant cutting benefits for lazy people, for people who didn't deserve it, not her. But here's the reality. The government doesn't differentiate. When SNAP gets cut, it gets cut for everyone. Your political beliefs don't protect you from your own policy choices. It's like voting to defund the fire department and then being shocked when your house burns down. You can't selectively apply consequences.
You know what I spend my SNAP benefits on? Red Bull, Celsius, beef jerky. Sometimes I'll throw some Swedish fish in there. You people are pathetic. Mind your fucking business. Focus on yourself and heal already.
Do you ever notice karma always shows up wearing a red hat? Because this is that. A MAGA mom is melting down online after realizing her Make America Great Again vote came with an expiration date on her groceries. Sis is on SNAP and WIC, crying that she can't afford baby formula, rent, or food. And her own mother told her, "We voted for this." I mean, how do you clap back to the truth? She's typing paragraphs about how anxious she is, how the shutdown hit her husband's GI Bill, and how her kids are hungry. Meanwhile, the rest of us are watching this in 4K like, girl, weren't you cheering when others were struggling? Now she's mad that her family won't lend her grocery money. The same family that told everyone else to work harder and stop depending on handouts. Funny how bootstraps snap when it's your turn to pull. And the internet is roasting her, and rightfully so. Because every election, people like her vote against their own interests. And when the consequences finally hit home, suddenly, we're struggling. And it's not fair. This is called fuck around and find out, sweetheart. What's unfair is pretending you're above every system you rely on until it stops serving you. MAGA said they didn't want to help people, and now they don't. Enjoy the America you built.
Imagine thinking that cutting food stamps is a good idea. That depriving people of food is good. I have this theory of MAGA, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, but you either fall into 2 camps. There's a deeply ignorant and or maybe stupid camp that just can't even understand what it is that's going on. Or the other is you're just a deeply cruel person and you enjoy what's going on. I've not met someone in MAGA who doesn't fall into one of those two categories. You just have no idea what's going on, or your brain can't comprehend the things that are going on, or you like it. If there's a third category, let me know, because I've not seen it, but I'm curious if it exists.
This breakdown is pretty accurate, honestly. Camp 1. You genuinely don't understand policy. You hear welfare reform and think it sounds responsible. You don't connect the dots that SNAP, Medicaid, disability benefits, these are the programs being targeted. You think entitlements mean something else. Camp 2. You do understand, and you're fine with it because you think the pain will be distributed unequally, that it'll hurt those people more than it hurts you. But both camps are learning the same lesson in 2025. There's no exemption for supporters. When you dismantle safety nets, everyone falls through. There's no special carve-out for people who voted the right way. Economics doesn't care about loyalty.
You know, with how MAGA's responding to SNAP benefits and stuff like that being cut off, it's really telling. Really telling that these motherfuckers have never struggled. And I mean actually fucking struggled. Like, take me for example. When I was about 2 years old, my family moved to Oregon and we lived out of the back of a station wagon out of a KOA campground. But as life goes on, I was eventually at one point making 6 fucking figures. But as so many of us know, life fucking happens sometimes. Whether it be some kind of sickness that makes you lose a job, or an injury that makes you take time off work and or lose a job. Or you're in something like the oil and gas industry and the price of oil just fucking plummets and they start laying you off. And this absolutely shows their complete and total lack of empathy and care for anyone but themselves. And this is the difference between the left and MAGA. We actually give a fuck about all human beings and their well-being and their rights. Where MAGA only gives a fuck about themselves and theirs. But a lot of them also miss the fact that Republican-ran states are not only the most uneducated, but also the poorest and the highest recipients of welfare. So I guess at the end of the day, they're really going to get what they voted for. I can only hope it's what'll wake them the fuck up. Have a good day.
This is the part that MAGA voters fundamentally don't understand. Life doesn't care about your work ethic. This guy worked his way up from literally living in a car to making 6 figures. Then one injury, one layoff, one medical crisis, and everything collapsed. That's not weakness. That's how precarious most American lives actually are. Most people are one bad month away from disaster. But MAGA bought into this fantasy that struggle only happens to people who deserve it. That if you're on government assistance, it's because you're lazy or gaming the system. Except the states with the highest welfare dependency, Kentucky, Mississippi, Alabama, West Virginia, all red states, all MAGA strongholds. The people screaming loudest about cutting welfare are often the ones relying on it most. They just don't realize the program they're using is welfare. They think their benefits are different, more deserved, until they're not, until the cuts come. And suddenly bootstrap ideology doesn't feed your kids. The difference between left and right isn't just policy. It's empathy. We understand that anyone can fall. They think falling only happens to bad people, until it happens to them.
So I got banned from Snapchat last night. Has anyone else had this happen and like got their account back? Because what I got banned for, let me just explain it to you. I put a picture on my story of a handful of pills that I am taking, prescriptions for me. And I put the caption, what did I put the caption? Does anyone need anything from the pharmacy? As a joke, please know it was a joke. It was a joke. I'm not a dealer. I do not do that. They are my prescriptions. I have kidney stones right now. One of those was an antibiotic. Some of those are my antipsychotics, my freaking PTSD meds. I'm not a dealer, Snapchat. Just give me my account back. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. I emailed them and I told them that it was a misunderstanding and that I have a really poor sense of humor. So basically, I'm living in the Stone Age. I'm banned from Snapchat. I'm not a dealer. And I'm very sad.
Hey everyone, good morning. I want to talk to you guys about these videos I keep seeing from MAGA making fun of those who receive SNAP payments, any government assistance, calling people lazy, making fun of them. What did you do with the money that they sent you last month? Like they're making millions, okay? The government's sending each family $1 million a month. No. But I don't understand you guys judging and mocking. There's a lot of people in MAGA who receive those, the government assistance. You can pretend you don't have those in your party. We know you do. But I don't understand. Do you know that people work and still might not make enough and the government will send help? Disabled people get government assistance. Why is that funny to you, MAGA? Why are you judging? Go get a job. A lot of people who have jobs don't make enough and have government assistance. But you guys are not worried that the billionaires don't have to pay their fair share. You guys cry when billionaires have to pay. This fear that the Republican Party, because I used to be a Republican, I know, they put in your brain, oh, if you tax the rich, they'll leave the country. They'll take all the jobs with them and we'll starve, we'll struggle. You know what? It got old. This is bullshit. It's ridiculous. It's not true. What they... Anyways, I can't.
Let's talk about misdirection for a second. MAGA voters will write entire manifestos about someone buying groceries with food stamps. They'll calculate exactly how much of their tax dollars went to SNAP. They'll work themselves into a rage over it. But billionaires dodging taxes, corporations paying zero in federal income tax, government subsidies to massive companies, silence. It's not about fiscal responsibility. It never was. It's about who receives help. They've been trained to punch down, to look at the struggling single mom and call her the problem while ignoring the CEO who just got a taxpayer-funded bailout. And here's what they don't want to admit. Most SNAP recipients work full-time jobs. They're not lazy. Wages are just so low and costs are so high that even working 40-plus hours a week isn't enough to survive. That's not a personal failure. That's systemic. But acknowledging that would require admitting the system is broken, and they can't do that because they voted for this system.
Hi, I'm Sue from Wheeling, West Virginia, and I have a message for everybody that's complaining about your EBT and SNAP benefits. Get a damn job. I work 75 hours a week, 80 hours a week sometimes to put food on my table for my kids, okay? Sometimes I don't even leave the register. I just stay overnight and stand in place right by my register so I can get my paycheck. So you can get up and get a, what? What'd you say? Oh, you're a disabled veteran that's got dementia and you got no legs? Well, you got arms, don't you? You can pick up some type of firearm or a rifle or something and maybe you can be a park ranger, okay? But you need to get up and work for your benefit, huh? What'd you say? You said you're mentally impaired? Well, who cares? My son Timmy couldn't talk, and he was mentally impaired, and he got a job working at Piggly Wiggly bagging groceries. Huh? Oh, you say you're an infant? Uh-huh. Well, guess what? Infants in my house, they worked. They can drool on stamps, can't they? They can do something to earn their keep. Keep my tax money for tax-paying, red-blooded Americans, not for SNAP benefits. Kiss my sunshine.
That was satire. But the terrifying part? Real people think like this. Disabled veteran? Just adapt. Mentally impaired? Find something. Infant? They can contribute somehow. This is where bootstrap ideology leads. When you refuse to acknowledge that some people genuinely can't work, you end up blaming them for circumstances completely outside their control. Go read actual comment sections on Snap posts. You'll find people arguing that disabled individuals should figure it out, that if you can't work, you don't deserve to eat. It's social Darwinism dressed up as fiscal conservatism. And the irony is that most of these people are one accident away from needing the exact programs they're mocking.
Like, another hard thing is my mom is very pro-MAGA. And, she's on disability. And she voted for Trump twice. Despite the fact that it's harming her daughter, you know. And she doesn't care. And, that was hard. That was a hard realization. And so I haven't spoken with her in about a year now. It just sucks. A lot of things are different now. And obviously, like, I'm not, like, in a horrible position here, right? It just sucks that this isn't what I was told life would be like when I was growing up in the 90s, you know? I was told if I worked hard, I'd have a good job, and I'd have a house, and I'd have kids.
I just learned something about MAGA that I did not know, and it caused me to develop this kind of theory or idea, and you guys tell me what you think in the comments. I recently learned that MAGA was under the impression that SNAP benefits was a food assistance program that was exclusively for Black people. They thought SNAP was just for Black people. They thought whatever food assistance they have in their state, whatever their state calls it, didn't have anything to do with SNAP. They thought SNAP was exclusively for Black people, and that's why they were okay with getting rid of it. That leads me to believe that the reason they were okay with getting rid of Obamacare and not ACA, remember the whole, they didn't know that that was the same thing? They thought Obamacare was exclusively for Black people. They thought Obamacare and SNAP benefits were exclusively for Black people and that we were getting some kind of handout, and they wanted to stop it. So they voted to take away their own food assistance and their own health insurance programs. They voted to take away everything that was helping them because they thought it was exclusively for us. And I cannot believe that. In what universe would we ever have an assistance program that exclusively helps us from the federal government? No, that's not happening. I cannot believe this, but it explains so much.
Wait, they thought SNAP was only for Black people? Okay, this actually explains everything. They weren't voting against government waste. They were voting against programs they thought exclusively helped Black Americans. They genuinely believed SNAP was a race-specific benefit, and that their state's food assistance program was something different. Same with Obamacare versus the ACA. They thought Obamacare was for Black people, and the Affordable Care Act was their health care. So when politicians said they'd cut these programs, MAGA voters cheered, because they thought it would only hurt those people. They didn't realize they were cutting their own benefits. This is what happens when you vote based on racial resentment instead of economic self-interest. You destroy your own safety net while thinking you're hurting someone else. It's not tragic. It's predictable. When spite drives your politics, you end up hurting yourself just as much as your perceived enemies, sometimes more. And now they're shocked that consequences don't check voter registration.
Hey, so in the past few days, I've stitched a few creators that have been making fun of people who aren't getting their SNAP benefits, and, just talking my shit as I do. But a lot of times in the comments, I get, why do you give them attention? Like, this is why. She was putting really heinous, unkind, and incorrect things on people's FYPs, and now she's not. So was she silent or was she silenced? Okay, love you, bye.
Y'all remember this lady, the one who got on here saying, I don't want to hear about how you're losing your EBT because I don't care. Taxpayers should actually be receiving EBT. I've worked so hard. I'm guessing she deleted it. She posted it last week. I stitched it, and within 24 hours, you guys flooded her video. It was an absolutely asinine like-to-comment ratio. I think she learned a thing or two about taxpayers and EBT. Someone come get your grandma, and while you're at it, take that ugly ice shirt she has and put it in a Goodwill bin. That's where it belongs. What was sad is there is another video that she has posted. A lot of them really are terrible, but one of them she talks about unethical billionaires, and she's like, you know, there are fraudsters and crooksters all in the White House, Democrats and Republicans. We need to freeze their bank accounts. Where the fuck is my money going to? Keep that energy. If you learn nothing from this, like, you are allowed to question how your taxes are being spent. That is quite literally fair as fuck. But maybe don't pick the, I don't know, $36 a year that you give, and maybe pick the, like, $700 a year you personally give to subsidize large corporations. Like, I don't want my money being sent to Israel. I don't want my money being sent to Argentina. So pick your battles, babe. I'm so fucking heated about this topic.
I don't know. I really need to understand how a mother, albeit a fucking MAGA mother, how a mother can rejoice over children not being fed. You fucking MAGA. God damn you. Oof.
So there's a conversation happening about donating food to people regardless of how they voted. I think it's different when you have a different racial perspective. So for example, I, as a Black woman, I am not openly feeding MAGA people. I'm just not. You know, I can't. They use racial slurs. They voted the way that they voted with the intent of cruelty and racism. And I personally am not going to open my door and start feeding people. Now, what I am doing is making a series called Poor But Not Starving. And that series is for anybody who does not know how to feed themselves while they are poor in order to keep themselves from starving. That's what it is. We can be poor, but we're not starving to death. And I don't have a problem with anybody using these recipes. They're not even mine from the jump. Like, these are recipes that I've gotten. They're just really inexpensive. But if you want to be that person who goes out and feeds anybody, by all means. I'm not saying that they don't deserve to eat. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying I personally am not going to be opening my door in my pantry to feed any and everybody who is voting for me to be re-enslaved. When it comes to a racial perspective, that also has to be considered, because a lot of people who are critiquing the people who are saying that they are going to feed any and everybody who needs food, I don't think that they're Black. I think a lot of those people are white. And that's just the fact of the matter. Black people are keeping their heads down, minding their business, doing what we need to do. And, you know, it is what it is. We know how to survive. I'm teaching you some things on how to survive because that's just something that I can do without spending a lot of money. These are groceries that I'm going to be buying anyway or have already bought. But yeah, just a little food for thought. Did I give you any food for thought? Did I? I don't think I did. I think I just rambled. That's fine too. Whatever.
This perspective is really important and often gets ignored in these conversations. She's not saying MAGA voters should starve. She's making public recipes, sharing knowledge freely. Anyone can use them, but she's not personally opening her door to feed people who spent years directing racial slurs at her, who voted for policies designed to harm her, who wanted to see her suffer. That's a boundary, and it's a reasonable one. There's a difference between supporting universal programs, everyone deserves food security, and providing personal charity to people who actively wished harm on you. You can believe in systemic solutions without being required to individually care for people who showed you zero empathy when you needed help. And honestly, the fact that she's still sharing survival resources publicly shows more grace than most people would extend in her position.
Only 1% of people who get SNAP benefits misuse those benefits. 1%. And that's from the USDA, from the federal government. That's the number. So you're telling me that we're supposed to just throw the system out because 1% of it is broken. You find me a system that's working 99% effectively, I'll invest in that system. So anybody out there going, there's fraud, there's misuse. Yeah, 1%. 1%.
Yeah, cut them SNAP benefits. I ain't paying for nobody to eat. I don't want nobody getting no benefits. They all sit around. And we all know it's all them Black people who get them SNAP benefits. Bitch, you're on SNAP. I mean, you're literally on SNAP. I see you. All right, well, I guess you have to cut your own benefits.
MAGA, be sure to wear your red hats in the bread line. That way we can all personally thank you.
1% fraud rate. You want to eliminate an entire program that works 99% effectively because 1% of users misuse it? Show me any system in America that operates at 99% efficiency. The military? More waste. Corporate tax compliance? Not even close. Healthcare billing? Absolute disaster. But SNAP gets held to an impossible standard because people have been sold this myth that everyone on welfare is scamming the system. The reality? The vast majority of recipients are children, elderly people, disabled individuals, and working families who need temporary help. And when fraud does occur, it's usually retailers gaming the system, not recipients. But that doesn't fit the narrative. So we get endless outrage about someone buying energy drinks with food stamps while corporations dodge billions in taxes. It's misdirection. And it worked. MAGA voters screamed about fraud that barely exists and voted to cut their own benefits.
I don't give a fuck. I'm still in the motherfucking house. I'm still in the motherfucking house. I don't give a fuck. Do I look like I give a fuck? Because I don't.
Did you hear about the MAGA mom that's really upset that her mother-in-law won't give them money because their SNAP benefits were cut? Ma'am, you quite literally voted for this. Now listen, I would have those kids at my house 3 times a day, giving them meals and filling those bellies. But give you money? Absolutely fucking not. And the reason you voted for this, even though you're disabled, your husband is a veteran, he's in school, and you have a special needs child, etc., 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 and you are also running out of formula, you still voted for this because you thought it would only affect other people. You quite literally thought he was going to take care of his base, and it might happen to like minorities, or liberals, but it wouldn't happen to you. Well, it did happen to you. So while I would be feeding those kids 3 meals a day and making sure those bellies were full, you would get not 1 dime from me, ma'am.
If SNAP benefits get cut and no contingency plan is enacted, I can tell you exactly what's going to happen next with Trump supporters. They are going to repeat the same line that Germans said about the Fuhrer. My friend, fellow activist and community organizer Leah and I met yesterday to do some phone banking, and she told me about a book that she's currently reading about World War II and the rise of Yazidis and how they rose to power. Yes, it was anti-Semitism, but that was just a scaffolding onto which other layers were built. Now, this was a pure cult of personality, just like what we're seeing today. And what they said was, if the Fuhrer knew that we were starving, he would do something about it. The only reason why we are starving and hungry is because he doesn't know. Now, my other friend and activist was also with us, Barbara, and she said, the same thing happened in Cuba with Castro. The sentiment was, if only Castro knew that we were starving here, he would send help. The only reason why he is not helping us is because he doesn't know. I suspect very greatly that we are going to hear Trump supporters repeating this same line. If Trump knew that we were starving, he would come and help us. The only reason why we're hungry is because he doesn't know. Watch this space.
This historical parallel is chilling because we're already seeing it happen. In Nazi Germany, people starved under policy decisions, but they didn't blame the Fuhrer. They said if he knew, he would help us. He just doesn't know. Same thing in Cuba. People went hungry under Castro, but the propaganda was so effective, they convinced themselves he was unaware, that if he knew, he'd fix it. It's cult of personality in action. The leader becomes infallible, so when things go wrong, it must be someone else's fault. Bureaucrats, saboteurs, the opposition, and we're watching it happen in real time with MAGA voters right now. He didn't really mean that. It's being blocked by others. If he knew we were struggling, he'd do something. No, the information is there. The consequences were predicted. This isn't ignorance, this is choice. When you build your identity around a person instead of principles, you'll defend them even as they harm you. That's not politics, that's authoritarianism, and history shows us exactly where that leads.